Hey guys, welcome to Outdoor Stuff. This week I am back at the plastering, but this time instead of ceilings I'm doing the walls. If that floats your boat, stick around. And remember, while this intro is on, drop me a like and subscribe to my channel. So, as I mentioned when I did the ceiling video, I am a DIYer. I am not a pro, but the technique that I'm using is yielding some good results for me. So I'll be walking you through that, but we can't do that in here, so let's pop back over to my spare room. Okay guys, so I'm back at the plastering again today, so I'm in my spare room. What I'm going to be plastering is this wall behind me, which is a previously plastered wall. It had been painted and then wallpapered over. I'm also plastering this plasterboard wall on the other side, and I've also got around the window and one wall over there. So I'm going to be doing this in two sets. So what that means is I'll plaster the plasterboard wall you just saw and the wall behind me in one go, so opposites. And the reason I'm doing opposites is so that when I get into the corners, I can finish the corners not against a wet edge, basically, because it's much easier for me as a DIYer to finish corners when I've got a dry wall on one wall. So I'm going to be doing, this wall and that wall in the first set, and then the one by the window and the one by the door in the second set. So the prep for this is much the same as when I did the ceiling in my last video, or certainly for the plasterboard wall it is. So in the plasterboard wall I have just scrim taped up all of the joins, and that is all the prep that I need to do on that. On this wall, because this has been previously painted and wallpapered, the prep is slightly different. So for this wall, you can see I've got a lot of holes in the wall where there's been a lot of fixtures and fittings put on here, quite a lot actually. So the prep for this is basically I need to get all of the sort of protruding rule plugs out, because I don't want to be plastering over those. Any that are sort of set back behind the surface I'm not too bothered about, and any of the deeper holes probably want to fill a little bit, because otherwise your skim coat won't adhere properly. It's up to you really. Some of them probably you can get away with just pushing a bit more plaster in my view. If you've got any bigger ones, probably want to fill those. But essentially that's part of the prep. The other part of the prep is if this had wallpaper on it, make sure you've got all of the paper off, because you don't want any of that coming off when you're putting the plaster on, because it will get dragged through the plaster. Or if you've got wallpaper on there, don't plaster over wallpaper, because the plaster will just fall off, or there's a potential to fall off on the wallpaper. You definitely don't want that. And if you've had not had wallpaper on here, or either way, if you have or haven't, it's a good idea to give it a wash over. So I've given mine just a wash over. I use a bit of sugar soap, get a lot of the grease and grime, old dirt off, old glue, that sort of stuff, just so you've got a nice clean surface. Gives the plaster a best chance of sticking. So yeah, wallpaper off, wash it, just prep any holes, and that is a bit of prep. Second bit of prep is we're going to need to PVA these walls, only on the wall that I won't be doing it on the plasterboard wall. The plasterboard wall is the right type of wall for plastering. It's got the right suction quality, so the water will get sucked by the sort of substrate, the background, out of your plaster when you put it on. So in order to stop that happening so fast on this wall, I'm going to be putting PVA on it to sort of prime it to make it plasterable. So I'm going to be using some PVA, which is just here, which is just some dial adhesive sealer primer, and I'm mixing that with a bit of water, and I'm doing that in a milk bottle. So I've got an old milk bottle here, just with 2 parts water, 1 part PVA, and I'll just spread that on the wall with either a roller or a brush, let that dry, and then we can get on with plastering. The final thing with the prep is if you've got any cracks in your wall, I suggest putting a bit of fibre tape over it, same as you would on the joins over here. Just put a bit of fibre tape over any cracks you've got in this wall. It'll just help the top coat of plaster not follow that same crack.
So as a reminder, if you didn't watch my ceiling video, or me plastering a ceiling, when I'm plastering I use 5 stages. Stage 1 is put the first coat on, stage 2, second coat, stage 3 is to do some flattening, stage 4 is a bit of smoothing, and stage 5 is some final smoothing. I'll go through all those as we go along. Tool set once again is pretty much the same. Bucket for mixing, 1 bucket for cleaning, bucket of clean water for wetting the walls down, a hawk, a trowel, a couple of paintbrushes, a bucket trowel for getting the plaster out, a mixing paddle to go on my drill, and some plaster. And as I mentioned, the only difference this time round is I'm pre-preparing the walls with some PVA. When mixing the plaster, always remember to add powder to water, not the other way around. Not quite sure what that is. Just seems to be the way that they told to do it. Maybe it gets a bit, it doesn't mix as well maybe if you put the water on afterwards. But either way, powder to water, mix it up till you've got like a yogurty consistency. Thickness is up to you, but like I say, I like to go for a yogurty consistency. Is what I found is best. Much like when I did the ceiling, I'm starting in the left hand corner. It's just much easier to work from left to right. You're sort of trailing away in a sort of backhand stroke. And as I mentioned during that video, it's the first coat is just about getting it on. I'm not looking to get a perfectly smooth finish at this point, just covering the wall without too many divots or trowel marks, but not really worrying about the finish at this point.
So first coat is on both walls, so that's the plasterboard wall, and then I've also done the other wall, which is pretty much the same. So now I'm just going to get another mix on and start again from the left hand corner.
The second mix needs to go on pretty much as soon as I've finished the first coat. That's literally a function of how fast I work and the temperature. I don't really work to a sort of feel of the wall. I just know that by the time I've finished the first coat and clean my tools and started a new mix, it's probably the time to get the second coat on. So I don't do much waiting around in between the first and second coat. I just get on with it really. And then it's just a bit case of going back over the same location, starting the same location that I was on the first coat. And this time I'm looking to maybe take a bit more care over the finish. But again, this is not the finished product. We will come back and flatten it, so just get the second coat on. And remember, after the second stage, you need to take a wet brush and just run in the corners. I forgot to film that on the walls, but essentially you're just brushing in the corners to get a nice crisp edge, and it'll all look good.
Okay, second coat is on, so I am now going to go and clean my tools and get ready for the flattening stage. So both second coats are on, so yeah, pretty pleased.
So with the third stage, it's all about flattening, and in this stage I am looking to flatten the walls, basically flatten the plaster I've already put on. So I'm applying quite a lot of pressure compared to the first and second coat, just really pushing the plaster against the wall and trying to get as flat a finish as I can. I've got a spray bottle in my hand and I'm using that just to liven up the wall a little bit as I go. Not too much on this stage because it is still quite movable. But what I would say is if you go to the wall after say 20 minutes and you put a trowel across it and you get a lot of plaster come off on your trowel, it's a little bit too early. You're not looking to take loads of plaster off at this point or move it around too much. So just be aware when you put the trowel across it that you're not looking to take too much off or move too much around. Getting a feel for that will probably come with a bit of practice. So just be wary that if you got too much coming off on your trowel, stop, wait another 10 and go back to it.
So I've been over both sides now with the flattening stage, and as you can see it's looking flat on both sides. So all that's left for me to do now, I'm just going to give the edges a quick run in with the paintbrush, then I'll wait another half an hour and give it another once over.
So with the fourth stage, I am using the spray bottle again to wet the walls. At this point your plaster should really be stiffening up. It shouldn't really be much movement on this stage, and what you are looking to do is just really get a good smooth finish on it. Fill in any sort of last gaps. If you've had to fill in any divots in the previous coat or in the previous sort of stage of flattening, then going back over those areas now with a relatively sort of applying relatively high pressure to the wall, just trying to get that sort of final smooth finish. And the final stage is just the final smoothing or polishing, as some people call it. And this again, I'm adding more water to the walls with the spray bottle, and then just going over it. And after this coat or after this go, you should really get a nice sort of mirror glossy finish. It should feel smooth to the touch. And essentially at this point, the plaster is hard, so yeah, there's not much movement to it. You're just looking to get that final finish with smooth walls.
So walls are complete. Really happy with the way they turned out. They've turned out really well. Both sides really good. Crisp lines in all of my corners. Now all I've got to do is repeat the process on 2 more walls. But I'll do that in my own time. That's it for this video. So that is now ceiling and walls plastered. So that's the spare room fully ready for me to decorate now. So yeah, I'll get on with that in the future. But for now, I'm going to have a beer. And today I've got a Tiny Rebel Cali Pale, which is a juicy pale ale. Hey, weren't lying, that is juicy. Anyway, remember, you stay safe, get some stuff done.